now back again. We just finished the pinwheel part of this, and we are now going to be working on these little flower pieces. It actually gets the petal looking part of it for the motif. And the first thing you're going to do is, I already did it, and now I have to take it out. Chain 1 up, and then you're going to be working in between each of these doubles. So here's a double, here's a double. There's that little tiny area in between that are these chains. That's what you're going to be working on, not on them. Like, I'll explain it as we go. But instead of working, like most of the time you might put your needle in between the stitches, like that, you're actually going to be putting it through the big hole, which makes it a lot easier, a lot less stressful. You don't have to look for the stitches, especially when you'll find looking for chain stitches are a lot harder than looking at single crochet pieces. So when you have chains, it's easy just to go through that big hole. And you're just going to go through it, grab the yarn, pull it through, and then slide, grab the yarn again, and slide it through both, a single. Then we're going to work on a half, which is wrapping it once, so you have 2 on your hook, going through the big hole, grabbing your yarn, and pulling it out. Now you have 3, and this would be how you do a double, and you would grab the yarn and pull through 2, grab the yarn, pull through 2. Instead, here we're going to grab the yarn and pull through all 3. And there you have a half, which is a little bigger, as you can tell, than the single, but not quite as big as the double down here. Then we're going to do a couple doubles. This is how most petals are actually worked up too. You usually start with the smallest you can make it, you work up to the biggest one you feel like making it. Some of them even call for a treble, which is a triple stitch in my head, and then work your way back down. Think of crocheting as a coloring book. You are using your hook and your needle and your yarn, well, your hook is your needle, but you're using your hook and your yarn and you're painting. There is no guidelines. You can make all sorts of shapes, as I told you to do before. I can read my work and I lost count and now I'm reading my work. But either way, and so whereas I feel knitting is much more structured, you go in certain directions and you know what your plan is, and you can make shapes to a point. You can knit a flower, but it takes much more work. It's not just painting, it's architecture almost with knitting. With crocheting, I feel it's much more free-formed and crocheting. And yes, everyone can comment and tell me I'm wrong, but this is just my personal opinion. And when you do both of them, you learn what you can and cannot do with each. And then, I have to start over again because I forgot what to say at the end because I was talking. Alright, we're going to double a couple. Alright, and usually how you finish them off, just like you built up to make the rounded shape, you're going to have to build down to make the other half of the rounded shape. You just do that by doing another half. So again, you start with your 1 already on there. You'll always, unless you're finished, have 1 on your hook. Whereas knitting, you would have as many as you needed. Crocheting only ever has 1. Unless you're doing the Tunisian, which I haven't taught myself to do it because I knit, so I might as well knit when I'm doing that. I know it looks different and all that, but it was confusing. I didn't feel like having one more craft. I already spin my own yarn and do most of the wool processing for that, and dye, and knit, and crochet. I really don't need one more yarny thing to put in my room. But, so you start out with 1, you wrap it around, you get number 2, then you go through the big hole, you grab it again, you pull through. You have 3 on your hook now. You grab the yarn one more time, and you pull through all 3 of them. And now you're left back with 1.5 stitches there. Also, just another little thing, I'll go into more detail maybe someday, but when, let's say you're making a plain solid blanket just back and forth or something like that, the singles are nice and tight. They don't do a lot of moving upwards, but they're tight and they don't show a lot of form, and there won't be any holes in your work most of the time. The halves are thicker, they're a little bit taller, and they make nice texture in my opinion. I love to work in the halves. It works up a little faster. I feel like I'm getting somewhere. I don't feel like I'm crocheting forever and not getting anywhere. And this is what happens when you have curly hair and you don't like it. You straighten it all the time, it goes everywhere. But either way. And then the doubles, and anything bigger than a double, as you can tell, work up very fast, but have these in between, these little holes, which, I mean, on a flower don't matter, but if you were trying to get for a blanket that's, especially like a baby blanket, you don't want a lot of holes that little fingers can get caught in, or maybe you want something that's very warm for someone who's very cold all the time, you might want to think about the fact that this happens, this little hole situation happens. And then to finish off your petal, to make the rounded edge, you're going to go down and through and grab. You're going to have 2 on your hook and pull through for a single. And you have just completed a petal. Well, they don't look good from that side. A petal. And as you can see, I finished another one as I was talking. And so you have 2, and you're just going to do that the whole way around. And then I'm going to finish this off camera because there's a lot of stitches in between, and I don't want you guys just sit here and watch me knit crochet forever.